Warren Hayes the musical. It really, that like, Warren Hayes the musical would also equivalent to career suicide. Like, it's embarrassing enough that I talk about pro wrestling publicly and make my love of this goofy shit known. If I were to start singing along, it'd be the death. That's it. Finished. I'm Warren Hayes. I talk about professional wrestling for fun, for shits and giggles. That's what I do. I been doing this since 2009. Started over on the Fightful, doing show recaps with Sean Ross Sapp, with Alex Pulowski, with Jeff Hawkins, and so on and so forth. And yes, I worked with Louis Dangour, and then I went freelance. Then I've been doing my own stuff since. So there you go. I write for voicesofwrestling.com. Sometimes. I am definitely not the guy who's making them most money off of the website. That's for damn sure. Hope everyone is having a good Monday. But more importantly, hope you had a fucking fantastic weekend. Your boy Warren did. I had a tremendous weekend. Hopped in a motor vehicle, my own, and drove many a miles to the deepest recesses of the Canadian tundra. Maybe not that far, but into the forest, into the deep forest. Not that deep. Spent a lovely weekend in a cabin with my kids, both my sons. My eldest girlfriend joined us as well, and it was just absolutely lovely. Beautiful, like on the right on the side of a lake. Of course, it's November, so you're not like diving in the lake, but you're not like pulling out the skates to go skating on a lake, which I wouldn't do, by the way. And basically it was just there to embrace the tranquility, and boy was it quiet and tranquil. And we just had a lovely time. We walked, we played board games. Juno came with us. She's here, she's still around. She doesn't come around when I stream anymore. That's finito. That she's like, no, we're not doing it. So we have that, right? We have Juno. Juno's still around. She's still part of the extended Warren Hayes universe, I guess. I don't even see her. She's probably hanging out with my kid. It's fine. But yeah, look, so just relaxing, just like I'm not a guy who likes the wilderness all that much. Like I like the concept. I like the idea of the wilderness, of being, I like the idea of the great outdoors. I don't like being in the great outdoors that much, especially not at night. Years of watching horror films have poisoned me on that level. But like in this circumstance here, I got the in this circumstance here, I just needed to break away, and it was nice. It was very, very good. And there we go. Here I am. All Warren Hazy, all for you. Is this a little bright? Is this coming across as a little bright? Can we do one of these, maybe? I feel this is very bright. Maybe it's because of because I usually, well, I don't want to. I'm gonna say I don't usually wear white, but I wear pale colors sometimes. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Anyway, so hope everyone's having a nice time. That you're ready to talk some wrestling. Cause yeah, some stuff happened over the past few, which you know, is always extremely entertaining. So we've got some entertaining wrestling stuff to speak on here tonight on the channel. So so there you go. Let's say hello to some folks before we get things going here. Silver Apocalypse, nice to see you, brother. Welcome to the chat. Member of the channel on top of that, the MrWarrenHayes channel. You know, not just like any you know, cockamamie channel. You're in the proper one. It's good to see you. Meggie O'Cannon, nice to see you as well. Also a member of the channel. Lounge Lizard Lays would actually be a good band name. I do not have the voice of a crooner. I cannot pull that off. DJ Convoy, nice to see you as well. Also a member of the MrWarrenHayes Show channel. The funny thing about LOLTNA is that it never changes. It always applies regardless of who owns TNA or who is running it at any given time. They and we can never escape. It's crazy how it's become like a force of how it's become a force of nature. You know, like something that just that you can, that, like you said, is inescapable. Like there's physics attached to LOLTNA. Like WWE has its claws into it, right? And they still trip over their dicks. It's amazing. It'll never change. It will never ever change. DGMC is also here. Nice to see you, member of the channel. Will there be singing moose? No. A captain's hat would be a really good idea. I should look into getting a captain's hat. That would be a really good idea. Sports and Things Shows, nice to see you. Welcome, Carlos. Pleasure to have you. It rained. It has rained for the first time since March this weekend in Los Angeles. Are you fucking kidding me? It hasn't rained since March? No wonder there's a drought in California. Holy fuck. Warren has more sense than TNA. Yeah, yes. I try to be humble, but in this circumstance, I will pat myself on the back. I do have more common sense than total nonstop action wrestling. He's a hero. The guy did a Val piece on Goldberg. A great one too, I may add. Where I completely demolished the myth that is Bill Goldberg. Fuck that guy. I went full Paul Bunyan in the woods. But no, I would say though that I have shat in the woods. I have defecated in Mother Nature. Probably when I was much younger. Because when I was much younger, then, you know, you're not poisoned with, you know, the fear of being out in the woods and whatnot. You know, you're just trouncing around being, you know, a kid. And I would spend quite a lot of time in the great outdoors. I would assume that I have defecated. I could look, I can't remember, but the chances of it not happening are extremely, extremely low. There is a very fair chance that I pulled that off when I was very, very young. Very, very much so. That's what I would say. How about that for some oversharing? Jew is on a paper appearance deal. Yeah, and her quote is really high. I will say one thing about Newell and Alizé. If they thought they had booking issues before, good luck now. Yep. I mean, I haven't seen anyone rush to their doors. You know what probably happened is like, you know, like the really scummy promotions, they probably reached out to them. And they're like, nah, we can't do, you know, this promotion or whatever. Like the real scummers, like the real shindies, they probably reached out to them and they're like, we can't do this. Oh well. Oh well. They both woke up the next day and was like, why is there a bullet hole in my foot kind of thing? You know, it's like they probably still haven't figured it out. As for the first ever women's blood and guts match, awesome. Sky Red or Sky Blood, as I've heard both, really showed out, and Statlander lost a fair bit of blood as well. Should have main evented. I thought it was tremendous as well. I gushed on it during the Dynamite review. No surprise, a very, very popular review, right? When things go well and you're really excited and, you know, people want to hear you say nice things about the promotion you like. It all comes together and it, you know, it was a one of my most listened to reviews this year. You know, I thought the women's match was I thought they were both fantastic. The men and the women's. I even on an equal level, I don't think I liked one more than the other. I will repeat this just for posterity's sake, you know, about the main event stuff, because I've heard about this and well, you see this going around all the time. So should have main evented. Well, here's actually a pop quiz for the chat. You know, we don't talk ratings here very much, but chat, here's a pop quiz for you. I want you to answer. On an evening of professional wrestling, especially on Wednesday nights for Dynamite, which is the quarter hour of programming that you believe is the most watched quarter hour, week in, week out, that is quantifiable and observable? What is the most watched quarter hour on a wrestling show on a weekly basis? DGMC is disqualified because he wants legal representation. Second quarter hour, 9. Carlos has got it. It's quarter hour 1. That is significantly. Oh, hi, Kristen. Nice to see you, darling. Welcome to the chat. Member of the channel on top of that. Hello, hello. Welcome. Kristen's feeling under the weather today, so send her good healing vibes. Quarter hour 1 is the quarter hour that is most viewed on a weekly basis because of the lead-in, because of whatever leads in always bleeds into the first quarter hour. That's the one that has the most eyeballs. So, you know, if there's one thing that we, you know, for a lot of folks who are very militant that the women should main event Dynamites and whatnot, pay-per-views is another thing. That's another discussion. But on the week out, the final quarter hour of Dynamite is typically the one, not typically, but it's one of the lowest quarter hours of the show, because people are tuning out. They're done. They saw what they needed to see. Maybe they're not interested in the main event. Whereas if you start from the beginning, that's where you captivate your audience. That's where you get people excited. I think it was best that the women kicked this one off. I think that's the best spot for them. They weren't squirreled away at the very end, you know, with people going like, oh, well, that's it. We're done. I've seen enough of this. No, we're kicking things off with the women. And I think that's something that we should keep in mind moving forward in regards to any analysis that we make in regards to Dynamite, is that the first quarter hour is the one that's the most watched. So whatever happens there, or, you know, at the 9 o'clock, you know, spot, whatever quarter hour that is, 5, I guess, 4 or 5, whatever. You know, that's the, that's the one that that's the one you want to impress with, quarter hour 1. So they started with the women. So that's a big deal. That's a huge deal. Because that's how the TV business works. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like that's just how it works. The highest performing quarter hours when Riho shows up. Exactly. They should put her up against Triple H's speech tonight. Whatever, he's probably going to do a speech, right? It's probably going to come out. Hey, let's watch some wrestling. Nice to see you and welcome. Also a member of the channel. It's great to see you as Pedro the Fifth. Nice to see you as well. I do fear a Cabin in the Woods. Although I love the movie Cabin in the Woods. Tremendous film. TK is going to be on Helwani's show. We got to go one up them and have me on Warren's show. No, we don't. But I did hear that TK is going to be on Helwani's show tomorrow. Stoked to see how that goes. I'm excited to see Ariel, you know, sort of grovel a little bit. Do you guys and gals on Binary Pals feel that maybe Ariel has lost some of his access since the whole officialization of the TKO merger and his great relationships with UFC, right? You think maybe he's lost a little access, little WWE access, and now he's like, fuck. You think so? Because remember when they had him on TV? They had him show up on pay-per-views and whatnot. He'd show up. He'd gladly go. That's when everyone started saying that he was co-opted, right? Isn't this interesting? Isn't it interesting how the turntables have spun? Very, very interesting. No, Juno was not here. I know I've been slacking on the videos. I apologize. I have been slacking. I typically do send Kristen videos of my doggy doing doggy things, such as sleeping. Is this where two large Samoan men barge into Warren's room and manhandle him? What? What's wrong with you people? What's wrong with you people? I mean, I'd love to bring you Juno, but she literally hates it when I do this. She really, 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 really hates it. She'll only come when she's completely assured that I am not going ham. Basically, talking about pro wrestling. This is the truth. I'm not making I'm being dead serious here too. She really hates it. But you know what I don't hate? You know what I don't hate? Leaving a like on this stream. I've done it. Why don't you? Leave a like on this stream and help get it out there into the world. Push it out into the algorithm so that YouTube knows that this is something that it needs to put in front of more eyeballs. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't we want that? Why wouldn't we want it on more eyeballs? It's good. It's good. So that would be great. And yeah, I mean, you know, that kind of stuff. And how about some notes, some housekeeping a little bit like we typically do. I believe I'm not quite ready to make this executive decision, but I am 100% edging towards being unable to put together a Mr. Warren Hayes show this week with the vacation time that, well, you know, this past weekend. And on top of that, me having intense work obligations over the next couple of days. I don't think I will have time to put together a Mr. Warren Hayes show, but that's fine. That's fine because you guys are coming in here on stream and you're watching all the best bits. All the best bits are here regardless. So you're getting the pure unfiltered thing. Will I release, you know, clips and doodads on the YouTube channel later in the week for easy consumption? Yeah, probably. But yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to to pull that off over the next well, at least Wednesday for the Mr. Warren Hayes show. But I will be back Thursday for the Dynamite review. I can only hope that Dynamite will be as great as it was last week. Probably won't. It's a go-home show. But look, one can dream, especially since it's going to be 3 hours this Wednesday. I can only hope and pray for the best, as should you. And then Thursday evening, we will be here to stream, and I will be doing a preview of AEW Full Gear, which is happening, of course, this weekend, this Saturday, which also means that the members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel will be getting my full review of Full Gear in early access this weekend, most likely on Sunday. We'll all be recorded, put together, and will all be yours. And then you can enjoy it and consume it before the rest of the world gets to see it later on next week. So there you go. So, and if you're like, wait, what is this channel membership you talk about? Well, look, there's a button right there on your YouTube thing that's called join. And if you hit the join button, you show a little support for your boy Warren, and then you get the early access. You get the early access on pretty much everything that I pre-record. So there you go. I hadn't done that voice in a while. What are you talking about? Oh no, not this voice again. I haven't done it in a while. I have, it's been a long, long time. I could also do the French, I could also do the French one. I'm just afraid that one of my French pals might jump in and then be completely insulted that I'm making fun of the French. Oh, yes. We will watch the Full Gear this weekend. It will be tremendous. It will enjoy the pro wrestling. We call it catch in French. We call it catch. We do not call it pro wrestling. It is catch. Like you throw a ball and you catch it. Well, it's catch for us. It does not mean catch to catch a ball. You play when you catch, you are doing the wrestling. So that's it. That's the long and short of it. That's how things are coming together. That's how everything looks right now. And yeah, I think we should just get to it then. Speaking of looks, look at this guy's look. What a fit. I really should have dressed as Jacques Moliere for Halloween this year. I really should have done that. It's so easy outside of the nunchucks and the butterfly knife. But then I could probably they're not too far from where I live. There's, one of these really sketchy flea markets. You know what I'm talking about? And I haven't been there in a couple of decades. Probably haven't been there in a couple of decades. And I could probably get in there and find like the Mall Ninja store and get like some phony baloney nunchucks for $20. I guess. How much are nunchucks? What do nunchucks cost? Oh, look, Reddit's got, look. Okay, honestly, what's the best place to find this out? Honestly, I couldn't have made this up myself. What is the best place to find out how much nunchucks cost? Our swords. Okay? Of course. That has to be the best place. 2 years ago, maybe there's been a bit of inflation, but of course, our swords is the place to do it. Oh wait, is this a video game? No, wait. Cult of Athena tends to go for most non-power online, so they don't. I kind of want to try them out after watching John Wick 4. See, these are the kinds of people that I support. Kill Roats user, Kill Roats. This is the kind of guy that I feel the world needs more of. Someone's like, I watched John Wick 4. Now I want nunchucks. That's tremendous. Okay, well, no, yeah. See, I get the foam rubber ones because it's for a costume, right? The internet is full of nerds. Yes, it is. See, that's the thing. We've lost the internet. The internet was best when it truly was only nerds. When it was only the nerds before everyone else got on. The internet was a magical place. Now it's kind of bullshit. I mean, no one's giving them a price. Oh, fuck you, our swords. Let's just go to let's go to Amazon. Let's see what we got here. See, foam nunchucks, $23. That's not bad. 23 Canadian too. Could I get them I could get them delivered tomorrow because I've got Prime. That's all I need, really. And then like butterfly knives are illegal, right? Though butterfly knives are illegal. Yeah, Canada. There we go. How can I get a butterfly knife in Canada? Yeah, this is for CS:GO. Like these are. I live in Canada and butterfly knife. Let's see this guy. Our butterfly knife. Okay, let's go. Let's go have a look. See. All right. I live in Canada and they're illegal. And they say contact your trainer. Like, okay. I don't know. Replica butterfly knife from CS:GO is legal. All right. Again, Reddit not super help, but look at Amazon again. Amazon has the butterfly knives. Look at this shit. They're training butterfly knives. Again, all I want. See? Look at that. A pair of them is like $16, $17, $19. And look, this one here, this is the perfect one right here. This is the perfect one right here because it's got the pouch. See? It's got the pouch. So I can strap it to my belt. Look at that. Look at those dragons on it. Holy shit. Look at that guy. Look at that guy. He's ready for action. All made with quality material, of course. No doubt. From the brand Happy Will. What else does Happy Will sell? Just out of curiosity. Look at this. They have, oh, look at this. Not only butterfly knives, but, you know, three-tier cake stands. Pop-up Valentine's Day cards for dad. Shoe bags for travel. Non-woven shoe bag with rope for women and men. All right. What is it? Real natural ostrich feathers. Okay. And then we have Christmas boxes. We've got transparent PVC handbags. We got scrunchies. What the fuck? Happy Will just sells any old shit, doesn't he? Just sells just anything. Tremendous stuff. So, where were we? Oh yeah.
How you doing, everybody? I'm Jacques Moliere. Just let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a nunchuck master, and I represent NWA, Mountain State Wrestling. Hoo-yah!
I'm gonna be the next Jay White. I'm gonna be the next Jay White. I heard Jacques had a terrible weekend in the wilderness. Very disruptive, not relaxing at all. No dog or girlfriend. I mean, that's pretty rough. That's rough for him. I feel like Jacques could get any woman he wanted, though. I feel like Jacques could get any woman he ever wants, you know. You can't see it right now, but look, can't see it real well here, but he's got he's got the dress shoes on. They seem well kept. They seem shiny. I think he takes care of himself. And on top of that, he's into martial arts and self-defense. I don't know why this guy is not taken, quite frankly. What a stream so far. Anyway, look, the point being is that I will probably do Jacques Molière next year, and I will probably do it on stream. I am 100% committed to dressing up as Jacques Molière and getting a bald cap and the little thin glasses that I could probably buy at the pharmacy for like, you know, $5 or whatever. I'm doing it. I'm doing Jacques Molière next year. Extra point for your costume if you cut out the words NWMountainstate.com and put with them like right up here, you know, right in the corner here. But like they follow me. Yeah, that'd be interesting. If I could have them set up like, you know, like hanging from my shoulder, you know, like some sort of, I don't know, like a truss or whatever. Anyway, things are going really well. We're gonna have fun tonight. By the way, listen, I'm not forcing anyone, okay? I am not twisting anyone's arm tonight to watch Monday Night Raw. God forbid, okay? Like I don't even hold myself to that standard, so I'm not going to do that to anyone else. But let's assume you are watching Monday Night Raw tonight and you're like, and you're watching Monday Night Raw tonight, and you just so happen to see who is Solo Sikoa's mystery opponent, then please and thank you, send them my way. I want to know when this happens. I want to know who it is. Do you want to know who I think it might be? You know okay. So there's I think and I hope. All right. I'm thinking it might be Roman, because Roman's in town, and I've been pushing in my brain, but to no one else. But I think we talked about this. I would think that Roman Reigns versus John Cena at the last match is much more meaningful than anything else they can do. Like literally top guys of two different eras of the show, and one of them saying goodbye, and that's how I think it should go. I think I said this once before, a couple of months ago, when they were talking about when the rumors started going around that it might be Gunther, and I was like, why isn't it Roman? Like, why Roman is such the easy way to do it. Madison Square Garden on top of that, you know, let's fill the place up. This is what it is. Like, go with your biggest fucking match possible. Don't be fucking stupid, right? So I'm thinking it'll either be Roman, that's the one I'm thinking, or the one that I'm hoping for is Austin Theory, because that would be the most disappointing thing. It would likely be the most disappointing guy on the roster to throw in there, and also a guy who legitimately has a claim to fight John Cena one last time. So that would really be fucking funny, and WWE fans would probably not enjoy it. And then you would have all the terrible podcasters out there contorting themselves into knots, trying to convince you that, oh yeah, Austin Theory in the tournament and possibly being John Cena's final opponent is a good thing actually. So Austin Theory, brother, see, Austin Theory is the one that generates content for people like me. He's the guy I'm rooting for because that creates content for me. That's stuff I want to talk about. Javon Evans is great. I don't think it's going to be him, but you see, like, there's really nothing fun to talk about when it comes to Javon Evans other than Javon Evans is great and he deserves it and so on and so forth, right? Gunter is not a great talking point either, other than, well, sure, why not? You know, it makes sense, etc., etc. But holy smokes, if it is Austin Theory, now we've got a bone to chew on. So feel free to share the news when it happens, folks. I'll gladly get excited about it. Mr. Antox, nice to see you and welcome. And Hikaru is here too, if I'm not mistaken. I failed to say hello to Hikaru a little earlier. I've got a sneeze building. I've got a sneeze coming. Just so you know, it's going to happen. Notice how mild the crowd went for Cardona. Well, I mean, they don't know who it is. They don't know who this guy is. There is no modern WWE fan who knows who the fuck Zack Ryder is. The people who knew who Zack Ryder, who know who Zack Ryder is, have either stopped watching completely or are people like me who are like, oh, it's Matt Cardona, okay, and he's been around doing shit, and he's been talking about wanting one more run in WWE. But I'll tell you what, this fucking guy though, in his run, this brother he got around. Good for him too. He got around. He worked everywhere. Ring of Honor, AEW, WWE, GCW. Like, who else has this kind of track record? Good for him. Anyway, I wanted to show you maybe one thing before we get into the actual board here. Give me a second here. We got to pull. I didn't plan this, as you can see, but I'm like, since we're on the subject, since we're talking about, oh boy, the feed is full of people. See, like, I think I've talked about this before, right? And it's like, I have no attachment to John Cena. Like, I'm very indifferent when it comes to John Cena. Like, I can recognize that. I recognize that he's one of the biggest stars that this business has ever seen. I recognize his accomplishments. You know, I've always thought he was a fine wrestler. I thought his talents for getting over rested elsewhere. And, you know, I recognize, you know, this guy carried the company on its back during some very, very bleak years. You know, no one wants to admit that they were bleak years, but there were some very bleak years, and he carried the whole thing on his back. Like, he was the guy, he was the draw, you know, no question about that. But I have never felt attached to John Cena as a lot of fans are today, who grew up watching him, you know, kind of thing, and are sad to see him go, and so on and so forth. And, you know, I can appreciate that we're at the end of an era, that it's one of the all-time great stars that's retiring from pro wrestling. But I have no, you know, people are, how do you feel about John Cena retiring? I don't know. You know, good for him. You know, long storied career, and he's going to make more money than he ever did with his Hollywood movies, and he'll be bumping less. So good for him. It's like, I don't know. I have no fond memories. See, I have no fond memories of John Cena. I have little things where I'm like, oh, that was fun. You know, when he dressed down, when he did that promo battle with Roman Reigns that one year, and he just like completely eviscerated him. That was fun. You know, that kind of stuff. But you know, I don't have great memories of John Cena. Anyway, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because of this little video here. This little video right here. This is a video that WWE released, okay? This is a video that WWE released to build to the last Monday Night Raw that John Cena will ever appear on, ergo tonight. This is what they put together, all right? This is what they put together. And guess, I mean, you already pretty much see it, but guess who's in the very first shot of a John Cena video?
The greatest of all time.
Of course it's this fucking guy, right? Of course it's this fucking guy. Of course it's this dude who is in the first shot of a video for John Cena's retirement. His last time in the wherever on Raw, right? Of course. Like, the bonkers thing, honestly, like the really, really bonkers thing is that he's... Okay, I'll sum it up another way. You know when I tell you that this guy's disposable, that this guy can be thrown to the curb if TKO's not doing good enough, and, you know, Nick Khan, you know, can fire him at any given time because he's expendable. He's not an owner. He's not the president. He's not the CEO. He's not Vince. People act like he's Vince, but he's not Vince. He acts like Vince, but he's not Vince. You couldn't fire Vince. You couldn't throw Vince away. You can get rid of Vince. But Nick Khan, if he's fed up with this dude one day, he can push the button and jettison him out into the universe. The reason why Triple H does all these appearances and wants you to understand that WWE is him is because that's the only leverage he has. That's the only leverage he has from being flat out told your creative sucks. We're in a downward spiral. I'm not saying this is happening now. Like, we're talking, you know, hypothetically in the future. Your creative sucks. Business is in a downward spiral. We're firing you. Now they'll at least think twice, because they'll be like, now, if we fire Triple H, how is this going to look on the brand? How is this going to look like, right? But this guy knows. This is why he's doing it. This is why he's acting like he's Dana White. But then again, Dana White owned the UFC. It was his thing. It was his thing. Vince appeared on camera, at least starting in the 2000s, really. He stopped doing most, you know, interviews and stuff like that. And he would show up on TV as a character and not just like the guy taking all the credit. Although he did take some, but look, we're not getting into that type of dick measuring contest here between Triple H and Vince McMahon. That's not something I'm interested in doing, in the least. But this guy here, he understands. He knows he's got no real grip on this company. He's a middle manager. He's the guy between the boss and the talent. He knows this. He understands this. So that's why he sets himself as the face of the company, the number one star, the guy who's going to go on ESPN. We're not going to send Cody. We're not going to send Punk. We're not going to send Roman. We're going to send me. Because I am the guy. Again, cosplaying being a top guy. Cosplaying being, you know, a highfalutin executive in this company, when in fact he can be jettisoned at any given moment. At any fucking given moment. That's what he is. And he knows this. Anyway, wanted to share that with you because it made me laugh. DGMC left a very generous super chat. Thank you very much, DGMC. I appreciate it. It's very, very kind of you. Cena's retirement tour is emblematic of his WWE run as a whole. A lot of mediocrity through little fault of his own that gets propped up through revisionist history, loud noise, and bright lights. Yes, and to a degree, I agree with all of this. And I would even like to a degree, he was also the best choice out of not much, if that makes sense, Like there's also that too, right? Where he really was the best possible option in an environment where there was just a lot of mid guys around him. But I mean, like he had incredible, he's an incredible talker. He's extremely charismatic. He knew exactly what to do, what to say. Like he was a natural, but it's like, yeah, like I agree. People will unironically tell you that Cena's feud with Randy Orton was iconic, and it was not. And that is what's going to be told when it's time to induct these gentlemen in the Hall of Fame later on. They're going to point to these great stellar matches that they had, and those of us who were around watching it will be sitting there going, "What stellar matches that they had?" Outside that one match out of the, what was it, 18? What did Botchamania made a bit out of that recently? What was it? They've had 18 matches throughout their career, something like that. Like pay-per-view matches. Yeah, the Too Many Cooks bit. And wasn't it like 18 matches, 19, something like that? And most of them you're like, I don't remember. And it's just like, it just becomes an amorphous blob at some point. Cena's best moment for me was the crowd shitting on him during ECW One Night Stand. I mean, it's an iconic moment. That's an iconic moment in pro wrestling because it's organic, it's unplanned. Throwing the t-shirt and getting it back thrown at him. And there is no doubt he enjoyed every second of that. There's no doubt. A guy like Tanahashi or Mystico is everything WWE in the mainstream claims Cena to be. True generational top babyface, not a guy cosplaying as them with a huge corporate backing. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mystico worked his way to where he is, and he is an undeniable cultural phenomenon, right? Just 100%. And Hiroshi Tanahashi was not supposed to be the guy. And Hiroshi Tanahashi was doing the little black shorts. He was doing the Inokiism bullshit, and he was not getting over. No one was fucking getting over. And then at some point he's like, look, when finally Inoki hit the bricks, because no one wanted him around anymore, he was like, look, let's not go full North American US wrestling style, but we need a little flair, and we need a little showmanship. So he starts, putting on the glittery robes and the hair, and all this shit that, that has come to define Hiroshi Tanahashi, the air guitar, all of that stuff. And then he takes off, and then he drags New Japan kicking and screaming out of the worst spot that it's been in its entire existence, and brings it literally to new heights alongside a couple of supporting players like, Kazuchika Okada, like Shinsuke Nakamura, like Tetsuya Naito, just a couple of supporting players. But legitimately, that's essentially it, right? And he brings it, and he carries the whole thing on his back, and on top of it, on top of being just charismatic and lovable and affable, he's an incredible pro wrestler which is something that no one will ever qualify John Cena as being. No one will ever bestow the words great pro wrestler to John Cena, ever. And look, you want to see what the difference here is? They're going to be packing 40,000 people in the Tokyo Dome to send this man off. Here's a conspiracy theory for you that just popped into my head. Are we doing MSG with Cena because, someone doesn't want to do a stadium show as Cena's last match because, he doesn't want to give him the satisfaction of filling out a stadium, for one thing, for that one guy. Do you think that's what it is? It's a bit of a conspiracy, right? We're tinfoiling this. I'm just throwing that out there. I would not be surprised in the least. Triple H is like, we're not doing a stadium show. We're going to do a Saturday night's main event. I mean, MSG is going to be a big room, but it's going to be a big venue for this, right? But they could have drawn so much more. Ultimately, this is what's kind of mind-boggling, is that they could have drawn so many more people to this John Cena finale, to this career end, than a Saturday night's main event in Madison Square Garden, which, yes, it's a huge arena, but it's not even the biggest arena in the United States. And I think they could have done the stadium show with it. And they would have packed it. They would have legitimately packed it. 100%. Just like New Japan is doing with Hiroshi Tanahashi right now. They're going to get their biggest gate ever in the dome, ever, based off of that. Wait, it's in DC? Then what are they doing in Madison Square Garden? Or is tonight Madison Square Garden? Oh, that's right. The last match is in DC. Oh, well, okay. Well, see, now that's right. No, now I remember. I got my tonight is MSG. That's okay. Sorry, I got my venues mixed up, but my point still stands, right? That, whatever venue they're using in DC is not even big. It's not comparatively big enough to the crowd they could be able to, they should have been able to draw. But we know why they're doing it in DC, right? Because now Trips wants to flex his political connections, right? I cannot stand that man. I cannot stand that man. Like hatred is very profound. It's a very profound emotion. And I do not hate much. There's not a lot that I really legitimately hate. I don't hate Triple H, but I really, really, really don't like him. Like, I physically don't like him, and mentally I think he's a joke. I think he's so easy to make fun of, and that's why I can't hate him, because he's funny. Because he's a joke. He's a funny guy. Sheamus just did the Claudio spot in the Cena triple tag match. Which one? The big swing or the pop-up uppercut? To be more petty, the final match of John Cena is in the Capital One Arena, same arena as the first episode of AEW Dynamite. The big swing. Good for him. Good for him. Anyway, I just wanted to show this. I didn't necessarily want to go off on a rant, and I don't want to show more of this, or else I'm gonna get creamed. Anyway, this is our docket tonight, folks. Zach McGibbon, radio host extraordinaire, joins us here tonight. Coming in to school me, to make fun of my allocation, the way I speak. Good to have you, Zach. All right. Yeah, yes, that. Okay. So, what should we start with? Oh, how about this? We're going to have ourselves we're doing this on Monday, of course. It's been a couple of days, but I do want to, I feel it's important to share these important moments here that occurred on this edition of TNA Impact, which is the weekly Thursday show, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. I didn't know an impact from an explosion, so I wouldn't even know. And this happened this Thursday. I believe it was live. Well, not only do I believe, but it's right there on screen. You big fat dummy. And it was the first TNA broadcast since going dark after the pay-per-view, the Bound for Glory. I don't remember the name, but we had this entire month, after TNA did this tremendously huge gate, right, of 7,000 some, which honestly is very good for them, which was then whittled down earlier this week by Brandon Thurston, last week, who snapped up the turnstile count to show that the TNA drew somewhere more around 5,000 people in the building as opposed to the 7,000 they were touting. Someone tell Matt Hardy. And so they did nothing after this momentum, after belting up Mike Santana, which TNA fans wanted to see. Was a good story that they were telling, and they wanted it to come full circle, and they had the perfect moment to do it. They decided not to do it, and that earlier this year, and then they come back at this show, I think again, Bound for Glory, I think, and they finally belt up Mike Santana, and with all this goodwill and this potential momentum, they decide to just go dark. All sorts of speculation, people going, oh, well, that's because they've got their new deal signed, their new TV deal that they signed, and that's what they're going to do. Or, oh, no, they're going to invade NXT, and they're just going to, all they're going to be doing is NXT stuff for the next one. All right. Turns out there's, they're jack fuck all. And then we come to this point here on Thursday, the big return. People are excited to have Mike Santana defending his title live on TV. And so basically, like, he has a match before this, and, his opponent was working over the arm. And then Frankie Kazarian, who, in case you don't know, is a co-owner of, Impact's, TNA's Money in the Bank knockoff. Right, their version of the cash-in, whatever the fuck it is, I don't know what it is. They have their version of the cash-in. And for some reason, Frankie Kazarian and Dolph Ziggler both co-own it. They both have a claim to the cash-in gimmick. I don't know. I don't care to know why. I don't give a shit. Because the end result is dumb, okay? The call your shot trophy, thank you. We'll call it what it is, but it's the cash-in gimmick, right? And I don't care to know how that happened. It's bullshit regardless. It's a bullshit gimmick. It's a bullshit gimmick upon which they decided to bullshit it even more. It's bullshit to the power of 2, okay? So we've got this. So Kazarian's running in here, and basically defeats Mike Santana in like, this is like a 34-second match, right? Because Santana is exhausted from his match and whatnot. Anyway, I just want to show the finish to this because it is proper stupid. You ready for this?
But right to the face, he's calling for spin the block with the injured arm, but he couldn't go for it. Wait. Connect. Roll it through. Roll up. Is it him? Oh my God.
So, so this is what happened, okay? And I'm sure you're like, oh, you know, like I know what they're doing. I understand everything that they're doing here. Santana comes in to do his spinning, you know, gimmick here to land his blow. But, oh, his arm has been worked throughout the entire match. So, you know, the air pressure here in Full Sail University is pressing against his bicep. So he cannot, you know, push forward. Owie, my arm, you know. And then Kazarian just comes in for a roll-up, and not a particularly great one either. And I don't know if you noticed, but Santana really kicks out like you could argue he kicked out just before 3 because of how razor close he did it. Check this out again.
Couldn't go for it. Wait. Connect. Roll it through. Roll up. Is it him? Oh my.
I mean, there were weird advisories inside of Full Sail. Yeah, pretty much. The whole thing is dumb, right? And it looked dumb, and as you can tell from the reaction of the crowd.
Oh my God! Frankie Kazarian is world champion.
No one is into this.
Here is your winner.
No one is into this. No one is cheering. No one is booing. Everyone's just like this guy here, like that guy right there. All he can do is just stare. This kid here is like, oh. This guy here is like, oh.
World champion.
And these people here in the front row, this girl down here, these two right here. Look at this one here. This girl here. This guy's laughing here because one of his buddies over here is telling him a joke. They're probably making fun of the decision. Look at this guy. This Hassan Piker looking guy here. Doesn't give a shit. No one cares. Everyone thinks, everyone live is standing there telling themselves, what an absolute dog shit decision. Like there's no other way to position this. This was a dog shit decision. Yes, the discus lariat, the spin the block. I couldn't remember the name of it. Worse off is that the scheduled match was with Ryan Nemeth, that the scheduled match was with Ryan Nemeth, went less than 2 minutes. His arm guard got worked over by the NXT mid card, putting a chair on it. Yeah, they were Pillmanizing it or whatever. So, you know, like, if you want to create like a new champion, a guy that you want to throw your support behind, right? And try to build into something. I would kind of think that you would have him overcome the odds, right? What better way to establish a new exciting face, a new exciting champion in your company than to have him beat his opponent, right? Then overcome the odds with an NXT invasion to defeat the cash-in dude who runs in, right? Then you're like, there might be something to this Mike Santana fella. We might actually be into this guy. Right? Isn't that how you build guys in pro wrestling? Like, who gives a fuck that Frankie Kazarian did a cash-in? And again, like, this situation here, this situation right here, once again, folks, adds more fodder, more fuel to the fire That is that is the blazing inferno of all cash-ins suck. They all do. They're bad everywhere. But WWE does them, but their fans love them. They're dumb, but they're dumb because they love them. And again, we have proof for that when earlier this year, Io Shirai and Rhea Ripley were having one of the, arguably, they were setting themselves up for having one of the greatest matches in WWE history this summer at the Evolution 2 show, and that was all thrown to shit because they had to have Naomi run in to ruin it, and the idiot audience cheered for it. And on top of that, Naomi is a heel. Like, even if you don't understand that what you're watching is wrestling greatness, at the very least, boo because this is a heel interrupting a match. It sucks when New Japan does it, They do it differently, like you have to win the briefcase off of a guy, right? When they did that a couple of years, right? And then Jay White won it off of, who was it, Kota Ibushi? And I was like, oh, this fucking sucks. It's like, like it sucks everywhere. When AEW does it, it sucks. It sucks everywhere. Cash-ins fucking suck everywhere. But TNA has to TNA it up. TNA can't just leave things, can't just take a basic concept that suck and say, we're going to do it as well. They're like, no, we're going to do it worse. We're going to do it in every possible way so that it is worse. So like we said, the champion has the match with Ryan Nemeth, lasts 2 minutes, then they do the invasion, then they do the actual match. All on a guy that people actually want to see be champion, that whatever fans TNA still has have been begging the company to belt up and make their world champion. But no, they just throw it all. They just throw it all away. Why? Well, because now Mike Santana will be able to go on NXT, and Carlos Silva, man, he loves hobnobbing with the WWE folks. He loves hanging out with Charlie Dempsey. He loves hanging out with Brian Pillman Jr. and all the rest, all the guys of the Dark State whose names I all know, I absolutely know, and will not be rattling them off here because you can all figure them out for yourselves. But I know all their names. Every member of the Dark State, I know who they are. It's infuriatingly stupid. And it does make you wonder just how much WWE influence is in this, right? Where they're like, oh, we'd like Mike Santana to show up on our shows, but he can't be a world champion. And then they're like, okay, well, they'll completely throw their booking plans into the bin to make sure that WWE is happy, to make sure that the partner is happy. That's exactly what this is. Because otherwise, and again, I understand what they tried to do here. They wanted to make sure that Mike Santana didn't look weak losing the title, right? Because he had a match, he got piled on by 8 dudes, and then he had to fight Frankie Kazarian, right? So the deck was stacked. It was a valiant effort, but the air pressure in Full Sail was too much for his bicep, and he couldn't make it happen. So, fuck your mama, nice to see you, and welcome to the chat. So, it's just and it's fascinating. Anyway, there's obviously more to this, right? Because of course there is. All right, that's enough. There's more to this, of course, because, later on November 14, I think it was the same day. It was November 14. No, this was the Friday. the news started leaking that Mike Santana has not arrived at tonight's TNA Turning Point event. Santana did not appear for his scheduled meet and greet after last night's taping, and the word making the way around talent is that Santana has not returned the company's calls and texts. Oh, brother. Okay. It smells like a work. You know, if it looks like a work and it smells like a work and it tastes like a work, brother, it's probably a work. And I saw a couple of outlets reporting this, you know, Mike Johnson at PW Insider. Sean Ross Sapp brought his version of the news as well, but this is what Sean said. Sean straight out said, TNA is trying to work an angle around Santana and the unhappiness from fans. They're claiming he isn't at the tapings and TNA officials haven't heard from him. Good for you, Sean. Good for Sean for realizing what's going on and saying, you know what? I am not going to sit around and play your angle because I am not a fucking mark. And a lot of people did. A lot of people did just report it as news because they got that fed without thinking for a second. Hey, you know what? This makes no sense. This makes no sense. Why would he be upset now? Why would he, why are we hearing about it now? Why are we pretending that that this was not something that was all worked out? That Mike Santana suddenly is not going with the grain here. And look, nothing, work shoots, folks, right? Holy smokes. If there is one thing that historically in pro wrestling has always had a 100% hit rate with fans, right? And that has always drawn tons of money for promotions. It's a good old-fashioned work shoot, right? It's never failed before. Its success rate is super high. Why not run with it? You know, maybe they were sitting around designing all of this and look, of course, I'm being sarcastic in case you're not picking this up. You know, the creative and who am I talking about? Tommy Dreamer sitting down and he's tapping his chin and he's going, we should work the sheets. We'll work the marks and you know, we'll work the smarks and we'll get them to believe that Santana is really, really upset and we'll do a work shoot. The work shoot hasn't worked. Never worked in the past for any company. It hasn't drawn a dime for any company ever. But maybe it will for us. You know, it's the Arrested Development meme, right? Maybe it'll work for us. Oh, we can't find him. He's not returning our calls. Mike Santana. Oh, geez, Luis, no. And then this comes out from Jacob Cohen, who was at the tapings. Santana comes out. He's made his intentions clear. He's going to eliminate the NXT invaders one by one. Then he's coming for Frankie Kazarian in the TNA World title. We couldn't get a hold of him. We don't know where he is. Boy, this got old fast. This got old real fucking fast. There was even an angle. There was even a thing where Carlos Silva, right? Because look, you want to talk about marks? You want to talk about marks who can't get enough of seeing themselves on TV and hanging around the talent? This is another hallmark of LOLTNA. This is another hallmark of LOLTNA. The ownership figure who has a distinct and important television role, right? You got it throughout the entire history of TNA Impact. And it still rolls on today with Carlos Silva, making sure that this tradition continues. He shows up on TV to say that there's going to be an investigation into all of this, into the NXT people showing up, and into you and your role in this, Frankie Kazarian. Like, who gives a fuck? Like, who gives a fuck? An investigation with the NXT B team on top of that. They're sending the Dark State dopes, right? The guys who tried to kick, this is one of their guys tried to kick Jeff Hardy in the head the other day and couldn't do it, right? And then Charlie Dempsey, God bless him, doing what his dad wants him to do. And Pillman Jr. Like, how is that a ringing endorsement, right? We're sending you our big wigs. Getting off track here a little bit. But, shout out to Mr. Antox, who is in the chat, who called the denouement here out perfectly on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord. You should join, by the way. In the TNA room. He called this out exactly as enunciated in this tweet here. Point by point. I'm going to go after the NXT people first, and then we're going to go after the title. And I'm like, why? Why? Why would you do that? Mike Santana, why would you do that? Isn't the world title the most important thing? Shouldn't it be the most important thing? Like, to me, that's the kind of thing that I have a little trouble suspending my disbelief in, but it's WWE. So that's got to be the most important thing. That's more important than your world title. Heading on over to NXT to beat up the jabroniest of jabrones, right? Now, this leads to a bunch of rumors, lots of speculation at the very least, maybe not rumors, but more along the lines of speculation, that Mike Santana might be on his way out. He might be done with NXT, with TNA, and maybe NXT are just starting to groom him to head on over to their side of the pond once his contract is over, just like they did with Jordan Grace, just like they did with Joe Hendry. And that wouldn't surprise me in the least, because this is what TNA is going to become now. They start building up a hot talent who might be maybe not a game changer, but someone that the fans can get behind and maybe like legitimately generate some interest. Might get someone really fresh and exciting. And WWE is going, yoink! Gonna grab that person, gonna gobble them up, send them to the old PC, and that'll be the end of that. I mean, that's TNA's relationship with WWE right now. Like, that's what WWE is getting out of all of this. Their talent. They get in there and they have the opportunity to just swipe up whatever talent that TNA is developing, and TNA is never going to recover from this. Like, TNA is not going to recover from this. Not specifically Mike Santana, but if WWE keeps snatching up their top interesting talent, because don't get me wrong, look, I like Frankie Kazarian as much as anyone, and I'm impressed by his career and so on and so forth. But Frankie Kazarian, in his 40s, world champion, I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, see, Leon Slater is another great example. Once they get their claws into Leon Slater, and that's going to be a fucking crying shame, by the way. Once they do, this is what they're going to do. They're going to poach all the talent that they want, and all the NXT talent that they don't want. They're going to release them, and they're going to say, "Hey, TNA, look, we've just released, fucking Indy Hartwell. Oh, let's pick her up. We just released, whoever, what's her name? like Kalani Jordan at this point. She feels more like she belongs in TNA than she does in NXT these days. That's going to be the cycle. Anyone who's young, fresh, and interesting is going to get swept into the WWE system. And whoever WWE is tired of, they're going to launch into the wilderness, and they're going to probably even give TNA a heads up. They'll probably be like, hey, we're going to, this person's released, and they're looking for work, and they got a good little work ethic, but they're not good. They're not for us. And then TNA, its entire history, the entire history that it's had has always been, yeah, let's try and make money off of the WWE cast-offs, off of the people that Vince doesn't want. Maybe it'll work for us. It's concerning to a degree. William Davis, nice to see you and welcome. Member of the channel on top of that. Oh God. I mean, it's Lexis King, I have to admit, it's kind of funny that he's now slumming in the TNA verse of NXT, right? This guy that they made. Do you all remember, chat, and I'm being serious here. Do you remember how much of a big deal they made out of them signing Brian Pillman Jr., second generation wrestler Brian Pillman's kid, guy from Cincinnati, and they had articles, they had puff pieces, profiles is the word I was looking for. They had profiles out in the news for Pillman Jr. and his his rough upbringing. And I'm not saying that he didn't overcome adversity, because he did, right? And that's all to his credit. But do you recall the news that they were pushing out over this kid, right? And they did the whole gimmick with him in a throne that would slide, and like they were going ham. They were going really, really hard on him. And then what was the rest of us? What the rest of us who knew about Pillman Jr. from MLW, from AEW, what were we all saying? It's like, what a waste of time. This kid is a zilch. This kid has what he has today because he is the son of Brian Pillman Jr., a guy who a lot of the old heads who have a lot of influence and or are in charge of pro wrestling today remember fondly, or probably even pals with. They're like, well, you're Brian's kid. We love Brian. Brian was a friend. We'll bring you in. We'll look after you. We'll give you some opportunities. Because pound for pound, skill for skill, if he's not called Brian Pillman Jr., if this is some like guy coming out of nowhere, his name is Steven Bocelli. I don't know. He's not getting shit. He's not getting the opportunities he has today. He's a completely vanilla, average to sub-average pro wrestler. Anyway, didn't want to take up too much of your time with some Brian Pillman Jr. talk. Much prefer to talk about Brian Pillman, but senor. Anyway, back over to this. So, ultimately, this is the thing, right? This is the thing. And this is why it's a perfect lull TNA situation. It's because these guys here, these TNA people, they had at their fingertips, they legitimately were building goodwill. I really do believe that. I think that, they made a bad decision waiting to strap up Mike Santana because the fans really wanted it. You can argue that it made it sweeter with his win at Bound for Glory again, and I think that was the pay-per-view, the last one that they had. I think you can make an argument for that, right? That it made it a little better. But the question nonetheless that remains is, what was it all for? You know, they took the month off and people were excited for Santana to just be a guy in TNA, but now he's going to go be a guy in NXT, but not in TNA. If I'm a TNA fan, look, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If I'm a TNA fan, I am upset. I hate this NXT relationship because they're taking everything that makes my promotion special and they're just WWEing it up. Making sure that WWE looks and comes across as better than everything else. And they're taking away the talent I like and so on and so forth. You know, it's a bit of a shit show. But it is LOL TNA in its purest form. They finally belt up the guy that people want as a champion. And on the first defense, on the first night back, after they had already done the LOL TNA decision of taking a month off after they have actual buzz, when people are going around talking about how many people were at Bound for Glory and how they looked like the second biggest promotion in the US. You know, despite all that buzz, they take a month off, come back, do this, trip over their dick. Frankie Kazarian is their champion. And he's going to be defending against Fandango at the next pay-per-view. Because Fandango's retiring next year. That is pure essence of LOL TNA. That is 100% the essence of it. It's bonkers. When you see the whole perspective here. As I laid it out, it's like, no, this is a comedy of errors. This is hilarious. It's a joke. I don't know who, like, I legitimately don't know who still follows this. The people that I know who follow it, you know, that I know and who follow it have to. It's not a choice. I don't know who's excited about this, quite frankly. I don't know who's into this. I really don't know who's into this. So, you know, all of this is happening. And then on top of that, and then today, was it today? No, yesterday, we get an update on TNA Wrestling's new media deal. It's almost as if suddenly we had to leak some stuff to the press because of all the bad press. Because of all the bad press that has been happening over the past couple of days. It's almost as if Carlos Silva picked up the phone, started calling a couple of people, say, hey, by the way, let me give you an update. Let me give you a little update on our media deal that we've been talking about since July. I'll read this article here off the Figure 4 Online, the Wrestling Observer. TNA Wrestling is reportedly on the verge of announcing a new U.S. media rights deal. John Alba of the Takedown on SI.com reports that TNA is expected to announce a new deal by the end of 2025, if not sooner, citing, quote, high-ranking television industry sources, unquote. Alba also wrote that AMC has emerged as a potential landing spot for TNA programming. TNA President Carlos Silva mentioned in interviews this summer that the company was looking to secure a new media rights deal and potentially one that would see Impact air live each week. He mentioned in July they were in a 60 to 90 day window to get a deal announced. TNA Wrestling has landed 2 new international media right deals in 2025. In January, TNA programming moved to Sportsnet in Canada, replacing WWE content, which moved to Netflix. At the same time, on November 4, TNA announced a media rights deal with Claro Sports for its programming to air in Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Dominican Republic, Uruguay, and Venezuela. And there you go. So that's where we're at here. So we didn't get an announcement. We didn't get the actual announcement that the deal is done. We just got more of the same nothing, but enough to distract from all of the LOLTNA stuff that's been going around. Carlos Silva had to wave a magic wand, and he called his people around and said, okay, what can we leak? What can we say? What can we not say? And it turns out that, well, it turns out that they're still negotiating. They're still negotiating. They haven't landed on anything yet. Silva said that he felt very, very good about where they're at here right now. That they're actually, it's not just like throwing, going to see partners and trying stuff out. It's like, no, we're in serious talks now. It's like, all right, brother. In this 60 to 90 day window, which has passed officially, we are over the 90 days of this window that he had imposed upon himself. He felt really, really good, in the spot that he was in July, saying, oh yeah, in 2 to 3 months, we've got a new deal. Well, it's November. We're 4 months removed now, and there's nothing. And the best you can do here is say, is tip off the media. TNA, all it can do is tip off the media to say, yeah, no, we're really, really close to a deal, and it might be on AMC. Now, if it is AMC, of course, we can always turn to Brandon Thurston for these excellent details here. AMC would represent this kind of deal here. AMC Networks is publicly traded. AMC was in 60 million US households as of last December. So probably lower now, but that's just under about as wide as ever receding cable coverage gets. That's a big deal. He gives us an example. Disney reported 61 million for ESPN last week. Access TV is probably half of that in many homes at most. And I think he's being generous with his half. For whatever it'd be worth to a hypothetical wrestling deal, AMC reports 10.4 million streaming subscriptions, which seems to be in the US. There you go. So that's very interesting because look, the thing here, hey, Ross and Found, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Here's the thing that we all have to keep in mind in regards to whatever deal TNA Impact gets. Why am I saying TNA Impact? This is TNA now. Here's the thing that we have to keep in mind is that wherever they go, whatever deal they get, it will be better than what they already have. Point blank, period. Whatever amount of money they get, even if it's like $5 million a year, will be $5 million more than what they're getting today. Wherever they go, it is a win for TNA. Whatever happens. Now, if they go on to something like AMC, that's non-negligible. I mean, that's 60 million homes is a big deal. I mean, that's significant. It's a cable network that, well, I don't know if it has as much prestige as it had a few years ago when it was airing like some of the best television on television, right? And they're still milking The Walking Dead, with for what it's worth. So, but nonetheless, like a 60 million subscriber count across the United States, that's a big deal. That's pretty significant. especially when you see it in comparison to ESPN, which feels ubiquitous, right? Whenever we talk about ESPN, everyone the feeling is that it's like, oh, it's this huge coverage. I was actually surprised to see that it was only 61 million homes that had ESPN. I felt it was like, this is going to be like it's going to be in every home. Every home that owns a microwave also has ESPN kind of thing. Not quite, but it's still non-negligible. So, like, if it isn't, if we are heading towards AMC, that's a big deal. Like, that'll be tremendous for TNA, and we can't pretend that it won't be. It's tremendous. And I had some notes here from folks who were in some of my group chats who were talking about this earlier today, and basically, like, the idea, or talking about it yesterday actually, as opposed to today. Not that it really matters. Not that it really matters. But like, the idea ultimately is that you're getting you look at the existing programming that they're doing right now, and they're getting, like, look, let me give you an example here. Dark Winds gets about 500,000 viewers. Talamasca Secret Order, I have no idea what that is, 200,000. An Interview with the Vampire, 200,000. Mayfair Witches was getting about 200,000. Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, like 175 to 200K. Walking Dead, Dead City, 200 to 250K. So it's not as if no one is watching this network, right? So, it is possible that they will be pulling in some good numbers. But I think, the most important thing for them, the company existing as competition, as opposed to like the company existing as theoretical competition, as opposed to actually being in a position to compete, is much better for them perception wise, right? If TNA actually being able to, let's say, go head to head on major networks or major cable networks with Dynamite, for instance, that it changes your perception of TNA, as opposed to being the show that no one wants, that no one watches, because it's buried on some because it's buried on some nowhere network that broadcasts nothing of interest, right? So it's a lot better for people to passively know that TNA exists, right? Than to actually exposing them to the product. That's a big benefit. Because if you're watching, let's say, Daryl Dixon on AMC, and then during the commercial, you see a commercial for TNA, you're like, oh, wrestling? What the fuck? You might not be interested, but you will see that there is a wrestling show on AMC called TNA, and that just helps raise the profile. That's what I'm saying. I think it would be if this is what it ends up doing, going on to AMC, it's more than just a win. I think it's a huge win for TNA, if this is indeed the plan. Will it sustain? I don't know. Probably not. I don't think TNA, see, here's the thing. There is nothing that TNA offers. And if you listen to the Dynamite review, you're going to hear a lot of familiarities here. There's nothing that TNA offers that truly differentiates itself from WWE. There's nothing that it does that sets it apart. Even before it became part of the family, right? Because you can always ask yourself the question, why would you watch TNA if you're already watching WWE? WWE does the same type of stuff on a bigger stage. It's better produced. In many circumstances, the wrestlers are better. The angles make more sense, so on and so forth. Like, why would you do this? Why would you watch TNA if you already have WWE? And that's why I keep harping and talking about how AEW is best when it differentiates itself from the competition. When it does things that WWE doesn't do or cannot do, because there are legitimately things WWE cannot do. Blood and guts, like the way we saw it, they can't do that. All they can do is PG-13 War Games matches. That's the best they can do. And so that's why I say, right? That's why I keep saying that why I harp so much on the reviews, that Dynamite really does need to keep all of the influence from WWE over the past 20 years out of its programming as much as possible, because if it becomes WWE Junior, if it becomes another flavor of WWE, there's no reason to tune in to watch it. There's no reason to tune in to watch it. AEW, TNA doing their thing on AMC in an envelope, a vibe, a presentation that resembles WWE, but much, with reduced production value. Why would you watch that? Just fire up Netflix and watch the biggest promotion in the world show you how to do it, kind of thing. So, it might start off strong. It might, the TNA, and this is regardless where they go. Whether it's AMC, whether it's, I heard MSNBC is going to be launching some kind of streaming service. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Wherever they end up, it's going to start off strong, because that's just how it goes. You start off, people are curious, they tune in, it's the first show. You get big numbers. And then it's after, right? It's afterwards. Then you have to see, how do we sustain this moving forward? And I think that's where TNA is going to fail. Well, fail. They're going to, the viewership is going to melt. From whatever big numbers they get out the gate, it's just going to melt as the weeks move on. Because again, I don't know what people want more out of TNA that they don't already have with WWE. And if you really want a real alternative, well, there's a company that offers that. There's a company that offers that right now. Something that doesn't resemble what WWE does at all, and is offering something that hasn't been seen in decades on TV and pro wrestling. I don't know. That's where we're at right now. That's where we're at right now in regards to TNA stuff. A completely a clown show this week that just reminded everyone that LOLTNA is ingrained in the DNA of this company. LOLTNA is 100% ingrained into the fabric of this fucking company. No matter who's in charge, no matter who's at the top, who's pulling the strings, it is something that they just cannot shake, that they are incapable of getting rid of. And good for them. Because that's their identity. That is truly the TNA identity. Fucking up the unfuckable up. The unfuckabling up. Fucking up the unfuckingly up. Screwing up what you can't normally screw up. Oh, so Ziggler came in. Thank you, chat. So it's Ziggler. That's disappointing. That's disappointing. And he lost to Solo Sikoa. Ziggler is literally the least interesting. Ziggler is really like the least interesting entry. How boring. You remember how everyone was, how a bunch of, I don't want to say everyone, but a group of people were really convinced that somehow one of these two people, either Cardona or Ziggler, was going to be Edge. How fucking deluded people are that they actually thought. It's insane. I don't know why people thought that I don't know why people thought it would be I don't know why people thought it would be anything else, quite frankly. Or Jericho, that's right. Yes, or Jericho. Jericho was the other one. Correct. Big Man Dogs, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. I think the only real niche that TNA could do is maybe a Double O's wrestling throwback. They already did that with the title change. I mean, you're not wrong. TNA will not be on American movie classics. I don't know, man. Everyone wants a taste of that sports stuff. I don't know. I honestly don't know, and I don't care. I'll tell you one thing. Maybe add this in as a bit of analysis. If back in July, Carlos Silva was like, 30, from within the next 2 to 3 months, we'll have a deal signed and sealed. And everyone was going, oh, they'll have it ready by Bound for Glory and it'll be a big announcement. And Bound for Glory came and passed and there was nothing. I would argue at this point that they're having a hell of a time trying to find a home for themselves. It's turning out probably to be a little more dicey than they thought because their track record is so, is negligible and uninteresting. They probably thought that maybe having WWE to back them up would help. Clearly, it's not. Because WWE's partners who are just flush with cash and are just ready to gobble up anything that Nick Khan throws their way, they do not seem interested. If we're talking about AMC now, AMC is not in any of these spectrums. I don't think it's going as swimmingly as they thought. Could we see at this point, chat, and I don't want to doom and gloom here, really don't. We're just, shooting the shit. We're being hypothetical here. Just throwing stuff out there. Could it be that the situation is so stacked against TNA right now that they cannot land a deal? And so WWE decides to buy it and then just folds it into NXT and TNA is finally after all these years of struggle and hardship and years of people saying, oh, TNA is dead, and it's finally put down, I should say. Do you think? Maybe. I don't look. Ultimately, the fact that Carlos Silva hasn't come out to say yes, yes, we have a deal. This is what we're doing moving forward. I was able to do this because I'm Carlos Silva and I'm a great executive and whatnot. The fact that he hasn't done this and that he said in July, like within 2 to 3 months, we're going to have a deal signed. He's got nothing to show for it. And we're 4 months in now, right? July, August, September, November. We're getting into 5 months now, right? July, August, September, October, November, 5 months in, and he's got nothing. I don't think it's going as well as they hoped it would be. I'd be a little more worried if I were a TNA fan, if I were under the employ of TNA or whatnot. I'd be a little more worried. You were talking for so long, Warren. Ziggler made his entrance, wrestled solo for 5 minutes, and lost while you were still on topic. Fuck me, though. Jesus Christ. How fucking boring is that? It's boring. And it's funny because he's Nick Nemeth everywhere else, right? And he comes out with his Dolph Ziggler getup. Yuck. Only thing that can help TNA is if they do what DDD Pro is doing in Japan, wacky, goofy matches and 1 to 2 real banger matches. Anything to differentiate themselves from WWE. Just give your product a flavor, like a real deal flavor, not a knockoff, not, you know, like when you go to the grocery aisle, when you go to the groceries, there's more than just one aisle. When you go to the groceries, you go to the cereal aisle. And then you have Fruit Loops, right? You have Fruit Loop brand Fruit Loops. And then next to it, you've got like Fruitios, you know? Well, don't be the Fruitios of Fruit Loop. Be fucking, you know, Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Be something completely different than Fruit Loops. Well, people really like Fruit Loops. Yeah, well, they can also really like fucking Cinnamon Toast Crunch. They like Frosted Flakes. They like Sugar Crisp. We call it Golden Crisp now. I was a kid with Sugar Crisp because we weren't afraid. We weren't afraid to eat sugar when we were kids. Back in the 80s, the scariest of decades. You know, with all these horror movies coming out, they're all these things that have to do with VHS tapes and whatnot. I think there's been a subconscious acceptance that the 1980s were the scariest decade. They weren't wrong. Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, Jesus Christ. Get shivers just thinking about it. NWA got the blockbuster Roku deal, I fear. Oh. WWE fans always aim for the top shelf of returns and are consistently disappointed. You want Jericho? We have Dolph Ziggler. You want Edge? Here's Zack Ryder. You see, and yeah, we saw that with the foot video, right? With the shoes, with the feet. They were like, oh yeah, it was the same thing. Oh, they're taunting, they're teasing Chris Jericho and whatnot. And it was just a fucking ad for fucking WrestleMania. But like overall, WWE fans aren't very smart. They're easy targets for that kind of shit. They're not very smart. With WWE being so overly gray and serious now, TNA going full sports entertainment would generally be a niche. I mean, why not? You're already halfway there, and they've done it before. They've done it before with the fucking, you know, with the Su Yung and Rosemary, you know, when they were doing the thing with with the Undead Realm. Isn't that what it was called? With Father James Mitchell. And then people would get possessed during wrestling matches and all that shit. All that stuff. That was like, yeah, if they decided to go down that niche, it could be possible. And look, it's really not as if wrestling fans would not be into it because Lucha Underground. You know what I mean? Like there's an audience for that as well, TNA could just like decide to fully embrace complete and utter nonsense and just like provide complete and utter nonsense. There you go. Yeah, like if I was genuinely trying to grow TNA, I'd look at whatever WWE and AEW aren't doing right now, and that has gotten over before. But what we want instead is derivatives of what is already working. That's what we want, and somehow that's how we feel people are going to be excited about, right? And I understand. Look, don't get me wrong. I understand. People are creatures of comfort. They don't want what they like to stray too much. Things need to feel comfortable and relatable and all of that. But at the same time, there are lots of people who are like, look, who do crave something different, or who will not watch your thing because they realize, hey, I can watch this over here. Anyway. I always expect one Lucha Underground reference from Warren, and I'm never disappointed. There you go. We've got a few more items, and we're shorter on time. Wrestle Kingdom has fucking sold out their current configuration, and they're going to be adding more seats. They being New Japan Pro Wrestling. New Japan Pro Wrestling has sold out its current configuration of seats for Wrestle Kingdom 20. The company announced on Sunday morning that although they are sold out 7 weeks ahead of their annual January 4th show at the Tokyo Dome, more tickets will be available for purchase. Thank you, they wrote on social media. We have sold out our configuration for Wrestle Kingdom 20 in the Tokyo Dome 7 weeks in advance. Extra seating will be open, in the coming days. You can still have a chance of making it. Next year's Tokyo Dome event has become a big seller thanks in part to Hiroshi Tanahashi's upcoming retirement match. In part, which will take place on January 4. His opponent will be none other than longtime rival Kazuchika Okada, who made his first appearance in New Japan Pro Wrestling in over a year last weekend to officially throw out the challenge. This is the current lineup that we have. Takeshita versus Yota Tsuji in a IWGP World Heavyweight and IWGP Global Heavyweight winner take all match. Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Kazuchika Okada in his retirement match. Evil versus Aaron Wolf for the never open weight title and Aaron Wolf's gold. New Japan Strong Women's Champion Saya Kamitani versus IWGP Women's Champion Shuri in a winner take all match. And a number one contendership match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. El Desperado versus Kosei Fujita versus Taishi Ishimori versus Sho, which is dumb. So, because they should just be having the title be defended. But they decided to have Doki be in a team with, that won this the Super Junior Tag League, which is also dumb. Like, it's all dumb. It's all bad booking. It's all stupid. But look, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about 40,000 people in the Tokyo Dome. That's what we're looking at this point. It's fantastic. But I'm going to throw my voice. I'm going to throw my voice into the chorus of people who are saying that this is nice and all. And as a New Japan aficionado, I am excited. I'm thrilled for them that they're going to have this size of a crowd, but the onus is on this company then to make this card exciting and palpable for all of these new eyes, these new fans, or at least these lapsed fans, all of the 25,000 extra people who usually don't show up at these Tokyo Dome events. They're here for a reason. They probably haven't watched the product in a while. So the rest of this card has to be fucking exciting. The rest of this card has to be top notch, because we know people are coming in to say goodbye to Hiroshi Tanahashi. They probably pushed all of these tickets once Okada was announced. Then people were like, oh man, this fucking rocks. Okada's back. Let's go. And it's just pushing it over the goal line at this point. Now it's just like, how much more money can this show print at this point? That's what they're wondering. But it's all on Tanahashi. It's all on Tanahashi's back. People tell me, oh, but Iron Wolf. I can't. I've taken a lot of my pals' word for it that Aaron Wolf is a household name and whatnot, and I believe it. Like, he's a mainstream star. I believe it. That's fine. They made it very clear that everyone in Japan knows who he is, so that probably does contribute to a degree, and I believe it, but to a degree, I think Hiroshi Tanahashi, his last match, is the thing that is moving people into this building, into the Tokyo Dome. And Okada is Okada's pushing this over the top type of thing. I am very excited at the idea of this show, but again, like everything else that happens on the show is what stays with the company after. There will be no more Hiroshi Tanahashi because Kazuchika Okada is going back to AEW. All you've got left are the rest of the card that you present. Soup and Tsuji and whoever will be in World Tag League, which will probably be Shooter and Umera and whoever else. Probably the Knockout Bros, right? And then look up and down the card. Everything that happens here has to be exciting and compelling for all of these new people, or these returning faces, if they're not new faces, has to be compelling enough for them to come back and to stick with the company. Because otherwise, it'll just be like a nice big gate that they got thanks to Hiroshi Tanahashi's final match. And then if we return to everything, to business as usual, booking and nothing feeling fresh or exciting, there's no point. Then it's just like, it's short-sighted, and we're going to be in for a rough 2026 as it pertains to New Japan. Does that make sense? I'm not the first person to say this. I'm not even I'm not pretending to be the originator of this thought, but it makes sense to me. That's why I'm throwing my support in that direction. That the Wrestle Kingdom show will only be as successful as the potential for a business turnaround. Right? So that means new stars have to come off as big deals, as exciting, as people that you'd want to pay to go see a show, to subscribe to the service, New Japan World and whatnot. That's what this all hinges upon. Because again, like I just said, if it just hits a wall and they're like 40,000 plus in the Tokyo Dome, what a great success. And there's no proper follow-up for the rest of their crowd, for the rest of their card, brother, we are in for a rough 2026 with New Japan. And I can only hope this means that they have some changes within the booking structure to get some exciting stuff going. Because right now, New Japan has been rough it's been rough for a while. And there's going to be other faces that will not be around, I would wager. If I would be a wagering man, I think there's a couple of gaijin that I don't think will be sticking around once their contract is up at the new year. And I think it's pretty easy to figure out who. So it's going to be a time and a place for renewal, for trying stuff out, for just being fucking bold, for just trying stuff out. Just try some fucking stuff out, you know? It's like I was listening to Joe Lanza talk about it recently. And he's like, you know what I do with Aaron Wolf? Aaron Wolf, a match, which by the way, is going to be televised, right? That match is going to be broadcast on television. Like, I think it's the first New Japan Pro Wrestling match that will be on broadcast TV in like 30 years or something like that. The Aaron Wolf versus Evil match is going to be on TV. What would you do with Aaron Wolf on TV? You have him beat the fucking piss out of Evil. No back and forth. No back and forth. No no headlocks and whatever. He just beats the piss out of him. You have the House of Torture clown car come, but he dispatches all of them all by himself, gets rid of every single one of them, and then ends up beating Evil. You make this man come across as an absolute undestructible beast on television at your biggest event of the year, and then on broadcast TV where everyone knows who he is and they go, God damn, look at him go. I want to see this boy do this again. And that's what you do during his never title reign. He meets guys in the ring and he beats them in 5 minutes. Who gives a fuck? You got to get people over. Get people over. You got to be bold. You've got to try shit out. You have to try some stuff out. Try anything. Like at this point, I'm like that other meme, right? With the white ninja and the stick. And it's, come on, do something. This is it. This is the moment. So, like I said, don't get me wrong. I am thrilled that they are packing in likely 40K people in the Dome. I keep saying this year, but, you know, at Wrestle Kingdom in January. I'm thrilled. But if I'm working for New Japan right now, I'm feeling the pressure. Holy fuck. Because we've got to turn out one of our best fucking shows of all time in this one here. A show that will rival the Wrestle Kingdoms of the 2010s. No dicking around on this one. Anyway, ultimately, it's good news, but it makes you think about the future. And it's like, okay, this is nice and all, but this company has to continue after Tanahashi, and hopefully they've got something figured out. But I don't have faith in New Japan these days, so I'm, press X to doubt. I saw some Japanese fans upset that Evil is wrestling Wolf because they think Evil deserves a bigger match. Now, that's what I like to hear. I think I've heard that Evil is actually training Aaron Wolf. I think that, and look, Evil understands what the deal is here, and he's going to do everything in his power to make Aaron Wolf look like $1 million, $1 billion yen, like the biggest amount of yen. For real though. Wolf genuinely looks like at best, he's going to be working out of a hole. They need him to be amazing, and I don't think we're going to get it. Apparently, he's working a lot. He's working hard, and he's picking up fast. That's what I've heard. And that's good news, right? But I agree. Like, he's someone that they are counting on him to work out. They are counting on Aaron Wolf to work out. Here's a question. Does Tana main event over Takeshita? My instinct would say no. But there could be an exception. There could absolutely be an exception. But I would think that probably not, because the Japanese are very traditional with the positioning of titles on their cards. But I think it would be a horrible idea to have Soup and Suji follow Tanahashi's last match. That'd be like, that would just be horrible. That would just be absolutely horrible. Gabe Kidd has gone to AEW, I think. Well, we'll see soon enough. Soon enough, the guy suddenly will be getting news reports that the Gaijin's contracts are up. That'll be like clockwork every January 5. Like clockwork. Throughout the night, like 90% of the Gaijin. Just completely cleaning house. New Japan must not pat themselves on the back for selling out Wrestle Kingdom, but they will. They will take the wrong lessons from this. Yeah, they can't be arrogant about it. Absolutely not. Pat themselves on the back when Saya Kamatani fills out the... where are they running Queendom? Ryogoku? Where are they running it? I can't remember. Pat yourself on the back when Saya Kamatani fills that building up again. PGWWE Gabe Kidd is what wrestling fans have been clamoring for. All right. One more thing, and then we'll go. One more thing. AEW has been in a trademark filing frenzy these days. Let's read this article from the Figure 4 Online Wrestling Observer. New trademark application was submitted by AEW late last week. On November 14, the promotion applied the trademark the term Watch AEW. The goods and services listed on the application indicate that the trademark will be used in relation to the distribution of professional wrestling programs. This is what it reads in the application. Entertainment services in the nature of live professional wrestling performances. Entertainment services in the production of professional wrestling television programs. Entertainment services, namely production and distribution of ongoing television programs in the field of professional wrestling. Providing television programs not downloadable via streaming transmission services. Providing non-downloadable videos in the field of professional wrestling via streaming transmission services. The term is similar to Watch ROH, which is used as the website name for Ring of Honor's Honor Club streaming service. The HBO Max is the streaming home of AEW programming in the United States, while the promotion also has its AEW Plus service on Triller TV for international audiences. 4 other new trademark applications were also submitted by AEW last week. With all those being potential event/special names, AEW applied for the following: AEW Fire, AEW Blitz, AEW Firestorm, AEW Tidal Wave. AEW Tidal Wave is not great. So we're going to be honest with each other. But anyway, that's I'm not here to riff on the titles, on the names that they've trademarked. I'm surprised at this Watch AEW service setup here that Tony Khan wants, or at least seems interested in setting up. It's something that I did not expect. That sort of personally throws me a little for a loop, because I was like, well, the first question that I had is like, why would you want to do that? Like, why would AEW? This is the original question that I had in my brain. It's like, why would AEW want its own direct-to-consumer video streaming service when WWE, the biggest wrestling promotion in the world, couldn't make it work for themselves? When they had the fan base, they had everyone set up for it. Why couldn't they make the service? They could make the service work. Why does AEW think they have the potential to make that work? You know, the library is on Max. You know, why do they need a streamer? I don't understand it. It's not as if they're running, obscure, house shows, basically. It's not as if they're running house shows that they can prop up there and use as a special attraction, Tony doesn't own any territory footage as far as we know. What are they doing there, right? What are they doing there? And then I got to thinking, and I chatted with a couple of people who were very smart. Made me realize that starting a streaming service back in, what was it, 2014, 2015? When did the network start? Back in that era, demanded a lot more investment and infrastructure, because the world had not completely pivoted to streaming. And it was still something that a lot of companies and tech providers were still working out, right, on how to offer it really, truly at scale. And now it's really not that complicated, because you can point to New Japan Pro Wrestling right now. If New Japan Pro Wrestling can run their own streaming service, there's no fucking reason why All Elite Wrestling, that is owned by an actual billionaire who has, ungodly amounts of money, there is no reason that AEW could not have its own streaming service. Like, okay, that makes sense to me then. now I'm interested. Now it's starting to make a little more sense, cost wise, right? Because again, look, and I'm talking about New Japan, but AEW or Tony Khan is running a streaming service for fucking Ring of Honor, and nobody watches Ring of Honor. Like, no one is going to make me believe that Tony Khan is making oodles of money off of Honor Club. But then again, maybe the operational costs are so fucking low that it doesn't matter. So, maybe it's not as, maybe I'm seeing this too big for what it is. And it makes a lot of sense when you start thinking that probably not as hard to implement and maintain as it once did. And then WWE also, we must not forget, also ran the mistake of what's going on? Oh, there we go. It ran it wasn't really a mistake, but it ran the playbook of creating its own content for the network, right? Remember that era of the network when they had, talk shows, they had, what was it? The dinner for three gimmick. They had Renee Paquette to do interviews and stuff. They had the comedy show with Edge and Christian. They had the cartoons. Like, they developed all of this original programming, which of course, added to the expenses that came along with the network, because you're creating content for the network, but the network is not making money, so you're not getting a return on your investment. Maybe this streaming service is just like, hey, you know what? This is just like to stream and to archive everything we do, whatever. And it's like, okay. It's weird though, because HBO Max is indeed the home of AEW, but in the United States. And this, internationally, Triller, at least, in Europe, in the UK, Triller carries AEW there as well. Whereas here, you can stream on HBO Max in the US. For pay-per-views, you've got the Amazon Prime, especially for us here in Canada, because, we don't have HBO Max per se for the weekly Dynamite stuff. So could this somehow become a way for Tony Khan to expand his international reach then with his own streaming platform, where all he does is, he uploads his AEW content, the weekly shows, the pay-per-views, and he's not infringing on his deal with HBO Max. So he has all of his things set and ready to go, kind of thing. And I'm thinking about that. I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But wouldn't it also be a deterrent, let's say, from establishing international deals, like with media companies abroad? Could AEW having its own streaming service on demand whenever you want at your fingertips, could that be a deterrent then for signing international deals? Well, maybe, but then you can also do a thing where it's like, oh, well, the weekly Dynamites will be uploaded to watch AEW like 1 week after being broadcast internationally. Oh, well, okay. We're just shooting the shit here. We're absolutely just like speculating and having a little fun with it. But I think it could be possible, right? It could be possible to do that. I think ultimately, do you know what I think this is ultimately? I think he might set up something, he being Tony Khan. I think he might set up something to conjoin AEW and Ring of Honor together, because I don't think it would make any sense to have two different streaming services for these two companies. You might as well just throw Ring of Honor in there as a bonus, right? Because then you have the archival footage for that, and that's really interesting. And that's something that sickos like myself would be really, really, really into, to start to dive in and see what we can get. I think that so coming back around, so he sets up basically. This is back to my point originally, which is, why do I think he's doing this? I think AEW is potentially setting this up in case they lose a streaming deal. In case for whatever reason things get pulled off of HBO Max and they can't find a home for their content, then Tony can be like, well, I can still give this to the fans and everything is like right here. I think it might serve as a backup plan in that regard. And I'm not going to lie, kind of makes sense. Like, yeah, I'd want that little security blanket as well. And maybe, you know, maybe we can essentially go back to an era where it's like, well, you know, we can have a streaming service for North American pro wrestling, and maybe there's something then that can be done to get catalogs from other promotions. Maybe we can't go back to the territories because WWE owns them all, but you know, maybe this is how we get some PWG on stream. Maybe old Excalibur hanging around there with his mask, you know, telling Tony, you know, say, hey, you know what? I talked to Super Dragon, and yeah, you know, if you wanted to investigate the possibility of purchasing some of our back catalog, Tony, we'd be interested. And then you could have some PWG there, especially when you consider that most of the stars of AEW today have gone through PWG. And then some. And then you even have guys from the competition who are there as well. So, you know, there could be that. I think that would be really interesting. You know, because, you know, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, hey, you know what? That's not bad, actually. That's not bad. It's not a bad idea. Maybe you bring back the old dark elevation. Maybe you bring those back. Put those on your server. You know, you create some sicko content, but like very low production value, because you don't want to start making cartoons. You know what I mean? Because then I feel you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. But you know, if you have an AEW extended universe, why not tap into that? Why not chat it up with the Lutheroths in CMLL and you know, maybe not get their entire tape catalog, but because, you know, if I'm the Lutheroths, I'm like, yeah, you know what, I'm not selling that out. But you know, maybe license some of the more recent stuff, especially since AEW and CMLL have been working together, kind of like what New Japan World does, right? When they have when they show up on AEW programming or on Arena Mexico, you know, then eventually the footage ends up on New Japan World. Why not? You know, I at first I was like, this is a terrible idea, but the more I think about it, it's like, you know what, and you know what, like, if all else fails and the absolute worst case scenario happens, and AEW cannot renew its TV deal, well, it still has this. You know, like, we're talking the fucking worst case scenario. They've got this safety net at least, where they can drag in some subs and still continue to bring some kind of money. You know, I'm just saying, like, there's definitely potential. There's potential to do that. You know, especially if Tony takes an approach like Wrestle Universe, right, over in Japan. What the one that Cyber Agent owns, Cyber Fight. You know, where they have Noah and DDT and TJPW and Marigold and 01 and the whole slew of promotions under that one banner. Like you look at that and you're like, holy shit. Wrestle Universe is a really great deal. You know, I get all these promotions, all of their stuff live, and then the video on demand, and it costs me like $10 a month, $11 a month, something like that. This is a fucking great deal. Maybe that's how you reinvigorate the maybe that's how you end up reinvigorating the independent wrestling scene too, where there's a destination, right? A high profile destination. I know there's already destinations that exist like IWTV, right? But IWTV is not exactly high profile, especially not over the past few years, where it has lost some of its high profile members that used to stream on IWTV. And Triller, look, we've talked about Triller in the past this year. Triller is not in a good spot financially. People have to stop thinking that Triller is going to be around forever. It is not in a good spot. I think it's looking to offload whatever's left to someone else. And yeah, I mean, look, that's Triller's not going to be around forever. I'm actually surprised that it's still around at this stage. So, look, this type of stuff is cyclical. Players come in and out and whatnot, and we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But, as much as at first I was very apprehensive and thought it was a stupid idea, the more I think about it, the more I put some brain power into it. I'm like, you know what? That's probably not too bad. Probably the overhead is not as bad as I think it is. The operational costs are probably not as bad as I think they are in 2025, as opposed to in 2015, 2016. How would it work with all the rights? I don't know. Like here, we're just sitting around speculating. I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't throw this one out with the baby water. I wouldn't think, oh, what a goofy idea. I think this might have a reason to be. This might have a reason to exist. That trademark was not signed for nothing. I'll tell you what. That's for damn sure. I remember watching Omega vs. Okada off Periscope back in the day. Jesus Christ. Periscope, that takes me back. Like Vine. They relaunched Vine this week. Called Divine. We can finally have AEW Shockwave or bring back Rampage, baby. Exactly. Exactly. You see the vision here. Yeah, like legitimately, there would be a lot of AEW fans who would gladly welcome the return of Dark or Dark Elevation, whatever you want to call it. I still don't understand why there were two different. They had two different YouTube shows with two different names when it was just the same thing. I don't know what the difference was between Dark and Dark Elevation. I never understood it. Rebranding Honor Club? Yeah, yes. They do. I'm sure Gleet has a streaming service. Gleet is not a real promotion. Everyone should know that by now. I would pay for an AEW streaming app if it has all of Ring of Honor along with it. See, I think there's a market for that. But here's the one thing we have to keep in mind is that the market for sickos is not as big as we think, because I think WWE poured a lot of money into acquiring all of the territory footage, thinking that would be like enough of a cash cow to sort of like always generate some interest in money. But I'm sure that in the end it was like, no, the territory stuff isn't generating all that much interest, which is, so now they're sitting anyway. They're sitting on all the content, and not just the territory content, the WCW content, the ECW content. And it pisses me the fuck off that we don't have easy access at our fingertips to all of this historical, significant content. Anyway, not getting into that rant at this time of day. He's making money putting full Ring of Honor matches on AEW YouTube than Ring of Honor's YouTube. Yeah, I bet. I for sure the views are better on the AEW side. You know, I hate saying it like this, you know, but it is true. Like, no one watches Ring of Honor. People will watch the pay-per-views, whatever number those are. No one watches Ring of Honor. Oh my God, the Wrestler House with Tony Atlas. Jesus Christ. And they had Hillbilly Jim in there, right? And Roddy Piper and Mean Gene and the Fink. Oh my God. Dinner and a match. What the fuck? What happened to Dinner and a Match? It just stopped? No interest? No one cared? I thought it was a cute concept. Sitting around talking about wrestling matches. The thing is like, if they had the opportunity, like, Dinner and a Match would work if, you know, of course they sit down and they watch an AEW match, but then they have the rights to dig up like an old, like, world-class match, or you know what I mean, an AWA match or something from Japan, and then you get like a freakazoid like Eddie Kingston, you know, just to talk about a Jun Akiyama match, you know, or a Kenta Kobashi match from like 1995 or whatever the fuck, and then just let him go off, right? But of course, like, all this is really complicated and rights and whatnot. It's not as easy as it sounds. So yeah. If all else fails, if Deadlock Pro Wrestling really isn't coming back, they could always wind up on Watch AEW. This is, yeah. Look, I said it last week when we, you know, when I talked about it. If there was one promotion in the United States right now that could use a bailout, I'm just saying. A lot of talent crossover with a certain major North American company. I need an AEW show, an AEW cooking show hosted by Don Callis. It would be cool if they licensed some Stardom content and localized it. NCMLL, though, it's tricky since their services are already available. The Stardom, they've gotten really good with the localization. They're doing that a lot more for the big shows. You can actually get the English commentary with what is it? Fulton, not Fulton, the other guy. Oh, I can't remember his name. The guy who does the Noah play-by-play, right? Who sticks up for the 5 pillars. Where in the world is Britt Baker? Is something that most people don't think about. I don't know who could possibly care at this point. Elevation was the more high-profile one. Was that the gimmick? Weird. That's right. Pat Patterson and Jimmy Hart were also on the Legend House. Jesus Christ. Can't imagine that happening today. Even if they were still all alive. I recently found out that the Frat House are doing brochacho style skits with Glacier on Ring of Honor. Oh, good. Square them away there. Fantastic. Where I don't get to see it. Tremendous. Let's go. Who has the Chikara catalog? That's a good question. I would assume it's still Quack. And boy, oh boy, he is not going to let that go to the smallest bidder. Because he's a canceled guy. He's not going to let that go for small amounts of money. But Chikara would be another great one to have because it, like that's another part of the genesis of AEW here. All the people that and you know what, like modern AEW fans today would love watching old school Chikara. Well, not old school Chikara, like when it started like towards, you know, like the comic book era. That's what they'd be into, as opposed to when it was starting and you'd have like, you know, Reckless Youth and Amazing Red, and of course Quack and Paul London and Chris Hero, which, you know, is tremendous, but it's not the and CM Punk. It would be tremendous to watch, but not the it's not the Chikara you have in mind. You know, it's more like we're a serious indie promotion as opposed to later when it becomes more of a comic book type of situation. Joel Maximo knows. Okay. On that note, we are going to end tonight's stream because that's what I do. I start things and then I end them. I don't know what that means. So I will be back Thursday for sure. Dynamite review, and then later in the evening for the big stream, we will be previewing AEW Full Gear as well. And look, keep your eyes and ears to the ground if you're jonesing for the Mr. Warren Hayes show this week. Chances are there will not be a Mr. Warren Hayes show this week, but you never know. You never know. Something may happen and like, hey, I have all this time now. I just wouldn't bet on it. But listen, in the meantime, I hope you all have a great week. I hope you enjoy yourselves tremendously. I hope you go watch some Randy Orton and get back to me. And I hope I'll see you next time.